So look, there are tons of videos on the internet talking about the secrets of success and the laws of success and money. This video is intended to be one of those videos, but instead from the perspective of somebody who doesn't have a massive personal brand or has even been in business for a long time. Over the past year, I went from making less than $5,000 a month as a videographer to now making $50,000 to $60,000 a month on average, with my biggest month being last month where I hit $104,000 profit, not revenue, profit. These are the essential principles that led me to changing my life in less than 12 months. So without further ado, none of these are in order of importance, but each one of them are as significant as the other because the combination of these ideas were what led me to making over $100,000 in the month of November. So number one, money doesn't care who you are as long as you work. A lot of people get caught up with having this morning routine and waking up at 4 a.m. to cold plunge, then, go for a 5-mile run and then journal for an hour and then, film 3 videos. And then before they know it, it's already midday. They haven't done a single thing for their actual business. Money doesn't care. I've met multimillionaires that wake up at 12 p.m. midday in the afternoon. They understand that as long as they get the essential tasks done on a day-to-day basis, the business still grows and they're able to live the life they want. They can start their day at 5 p.m. and work till 1 a.m. or they can wake up at 4 a.m. and be done by 10 a.m. So it all just depends on what exactly you have to do. What are the main tasks inside of your business that push the needle forward? Which leads me to my second point. Now, when I talk about work and doing the work, there's only 3 kinds of work that you can actually do. Number 1 is growing impressions. Number 2 is growing in sales. And number 3 is improving the product. Anything that's outside of the realm of these 3 aspects have nothing to do with growing the business. You are just wasting time, and you will forever waste time if you consistently focus on these areas in your business. So forget about the logo, forget about the website. Till this point, we only have a funnel. We don't have a true website. Our logo is just, a logo that took us less than 30 seconds to come up with. So forget about all that. Focus on improving impressions, improving sales, and improving the product. So what does that look like? Well, when it comes to impressions, what I'm talking about here is traffic, whether that be mastering ads, whether that be, making organic content, or a mixture of both. Just how are you bringing more eyeballs to what you have to offer, right? So traffic is essentially the life of the business. Without traffic, you won't be able to actually sell anything. You won't be able to provide a service. No matter how good your service is, no matter how good of a product that you've created or that you've invented, it's worth nothing without traffic. Now, you can also see that on the other side where there are tons of influencers and there are tons of people that have a subpar product, whether that be physical, digital, whatever it is, and they're able to release it and make millions of dollars just because they've already created that traffic aspect. That's why a lot of YouTubers get paid on AdSense, is because they're able to cultivate this traffic, and now these advertisers are just paying to have their traffic see the product that they're selling. So whether that be posting organic content or whether that be getting better at ads, filming ads and scripting and copywriting, that is one of the key pillars in building a business. Now, number 2 is sales. So sales is integrated into every single part of your business, from your content, from your ads, from your sales team, from your funnel, whatever it may be that you're working on. Sales is integrated, and there's a piece of sales inside of everything. Just like in life, you're selling yourself to people, you're selling yourself to a potential life partner, you're selling yourself to a potential business partner. So there's always an aspect of selling, and so working on that in terms of the business usually looks like making more content, making content that will convince people that you are an authority in your space, making more sales calls, booking sales calls. So now, if you have the traffic, but your sales is subpar, or you're not booking enough calls before, no matter how good your product is, you won't be able to reach the masses, and you won't be able to show everybody how great this product is and how it can transform people's lives. If you're not good at sales, and if you're not focused on, building a sales team or hopping on more sales calls or improving your sales ability. Now, number 3 is product. So you can get very far in business with having just marketing and sales. Your product to be very subpar, and we've seen it multiple times where people get called scammers, a lot of refunds from their actual products just because their marketing and sales were really good, but when it comes to the product, it wasn't on the same level as what they were portraying it to be. They didn't deliver to the expectations of the customer. So when it comes to improving the product, it's going to indirectly affect your business. Now, at the moment, you might not see the money come in, but in the long term, as you continue to improve the product, as you provide a better service, create more results and get more people and live up to the expectation, and not just live up, but also exceed the expectation that people have as they're buying your product, that's when you're going to see a massive difference. And that's probably one of the most important aspects when it comes to building a business. So like I said, you have those impressions, you have the sales, and those two are really, really good. But then also you have your product, which is by far the most important thing. Because if you think about it, it starts to create this flywheel effect. You have your impressions that funnels people into sales, and then your sales goes into your product, right? Now, as people start to like your product and start to get their results, what will happen is that your product will start to generate more sales because previous customers are now referring more people because it's such a great product. Think about the last time you had something that you thought was a really good deal, or you just exceeded your expectations in terms of what you thought you were buying. I'm pretty sure you probably told somebody. For most people, they would probably tell their parents, they would probably tell their family, their friends about this crazy new product or this over the top delicious restaurant that they have to try now because the product is very, very good. When that happens, you have a lot of people that like the product, and then they lead to more sales, which ultimately leads to more money. But we're not focused on that because it just adds to the product. And every time we grow this product right here, it's just going to lead to more sales and lead to more sales and lead to more sales. That's how important product is. It's a long-term game, but if you can understand that, you're going to go very far developing your product, and you're going to prioritize that more than most things. Now, for the third lesson, this is something that stuck with me very, very closely when I first met my business partner. He currently runs a business doing multi-millions of dollars a year, and one of the biggest lessons that he told me that stuck with me ever since was, look, you want to focus on being a generalist and not a specialist. A lot of people get caught up in trying to improve their skills, and especially when you're beginning, that's a very, very good thing, and that's something you should focus on. You should focus on a specific skill in the beginning. But then as you start to expand and as you start to grow, trying to perfect and trying to know everything about anything is going to hurt you more than it will benefit you. You'll be wasting time on things that can be easily delegated. So instead, the principle and the rule that I was taught was try to be a generalist. So hire the specialists and be the generalist that leads the specialists in certain areas. To break this down, let's say we're building a house, right? We're building a house from ground up. Now, I can spend, say 3 months trying to learn how to build the foundation of a house, and then I could probably spend another 6 months to a year trying to learn how to actually frame a house, and I can spend some time learning how to be an architect, designing a house so that it's up to code, doing something that's structurally unsound, and I'm making sure that the house looks nice for other people. And so I can spend 3 months here, let's say 6 months there to become an architect, let's say another month, another year. I can spend all this time trying to learn how to build a house on my own and perfect every single part. Or I can just hire the framer that has done this for 20 plus years and knows how to do this in a day or two. I can hire the architect that has been doing this for, say, 5 plus years and knows how to build a structurally sound house and a good looking house. I can hire the painters that have been painting for 20 years, the foundation experts that have been doing foundation for years and years on end. So when it comes to building a business, you want to definitely be a generalist and not a specialist. Don't get caught up on the day-to-day tasks. It's very good to know how every single part of the business works, and you definitely want to get a really good idea of how everything works. But after that, it would hurt you more than benefit you to perfect every single aspect of your business. Just find an expert, find really, really good talent, and put them in a position to succeed. Once you do that, you'll start to see that you'll make more money than you've ever imagined. Now, switching it up a little bit, one of the biggest things that helped me personally get to 6 figures a month and transform my life in less than 12 months has been my faith in God. There are tons of people, and I grew up myself with a bad relationship in terms of God and money and how those two intertwine with each other. And if you start to look at money as just a tool and not necessarily let money control you, then you'll start to understand that it's just another avenue. It's just another kind of adventure, another challenge that is in this world to be able to accomplish. In books like Proverbs and Luke, God talks about how, he wants to give to those who work hard. To whom much is given, much is expected. And so that is something that I've lived by, and I try to live by every single day. And that's helped me a lot. Now, the second thing is having the faith of just doing the work and letting God take control of the rest. Every time I pray, every time I think about it and I spend time with God, one of the things I always let him know is just, hey, I'll do what I have to do and you take care of the rest. It's very similar to the saying, God steers and I row. I will just do what I have to do on a day-to-day basis. I know that if I do X amount of work and I'm disciplined and I consistently give it at something, eventually down the line, he will reward me in a way that he finds deemable. I think about how blessed I am to have not received all these fruits and all these blessings so quickly, because fast money creates ego and slow money creates character. I had to, endure the pain. I had to go through things that I did not want to go through, countless times of doubting myself and just continuing to push on and on and on, to the point where now when I am dealing with a situation that is difficult, I can always look back on my past and say, if I did it this time, I know I can do it again. And so that is one of the biggest blessings, is just being able to leave everything in God's hands and just show up every day and do what I have to do, and God takes care of the rest. That being said, one of the most important things, and I think most people start to forget this as they start to level up a lot, is being grateful. Every single day, every chance that I get to be grateful, I am grateful, because just being here, just sitting here, just being able to have access to a computer, just being able to have clothes on my body, just being able to breathe air, just being able to speak English, just being able to be in the United States is all a blessing. Even if one of the most important things that kept me going along the way was making money online. And there are thousands of people in this world that wish they could make online money. To most people in the online space, making about $3,000 to $5,000 a month is, entry level. It's on a lower end. But sometimes I have to remind myself that even making that kind of money, which is, say, the average income, but being able to do something that I love to do, being able to go wherever I want to go and continue to work from my laptop and continue to work and make money online is a blessing in itself, even if it's $3,000 to $5,000 a month. Now, obviously, we strive to make more every single month, but it always comes back down, and I always try to understand and be grateful for what God's built for me. This is the main reason why tons of millionaires and tons of trust fund babies are depressed, is because they're not grateful for anything, and everything was given to them. And so it's very hard for them to be grateful for something. And so being able to be grateful on a day-to-day basis is one of the most important things that has made me just continue to push forward and has allowed me to go through the days that are sometimes unbearable to go through. That's that out right there. Got this one right there. All right. Now, this one isn't really a law or a rule, but instead it is my office. So currently we are in my office right here. Pretty standard. We got massive window on this side so I can overlook the whole entire city. Right now it's raining, so it looks very nice. But this is one of the number one most important things that has allowed me to reach that $50,000 to $60,000 mark, hit $104,000 last month. The reason being is because there's a very specific person that is able to be at home, have an office at home, be around family, work all day, focus, and just get things done. Me personally, I'm not that person, and I know a lot of people who aren't that person. And so being able to detach from my family, still, see them on a day-to-day basis, but being able to detach, have my office here, have my own space, make sure my computer is safe, make sure everything is in one place, my mic is safe, my camera is safe, and everything is just how I want it to be. That has allowed me to just focus more and lead me to doubling my money and hitting record months. So definitely, I know a lot of people that aren't able to afford an office and have the luxury of getting their own space, but try to recreate something, try to have an area where you're just secluded from everybody else, because at the end of the day, success takes sacrifice. And so you have to figure out what you're willing to sacrifice to get to the next level. Now, to add on to that, which is another point, is that you have to be selfish to be selfless. A lot of people say that, but I truly experienced that in the last 12 months of just not spending that much time with family, not being able to go to certain events and spend time with them when traditionally it was normal for me to spend time with them. I chose to make this sacrifice so that I can build towards a business. I can just add more leverage and add more time and put more hours down towards business and continue to grow it day after day after day. The only way to grow a business is by imbalance. Now, you can apply that principle to any aspect in life, whether that be health and fitness, relationships, or business. In order to create change, there needs to be imbalance. And what that means is basically, if you're doing the standard stuff, if you're kind of doing the average amount of work that most people do, then you'll see the average results. It's similar to in fitness. If you're trying to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. That is an imbalance in calories. If you were at a balance of calories where you're consuming as much as you're burning, then you won't lose weight, you won't go anywhere, you won't gain weight or lose weight. Now, in order to create change, you either have to be in imbalance, in a surplus or a deficit. It's the same thing with business and the same thing with relationships. If in order to grow the business, in order to create something and create change, you have to have an imbalance of the amount of hours that you are putting into something. Same thing with relationships. Let's say you are trying to date this one girl. The more frequent that she sees you, the more she's going to be interested. The more you're going to have opportunities to spend time with her and to connect with her and to ask her on a date. And so imbalance is one of the most important things, and you have to be selfish in the beginning, specifically on where that imbalance is going to be, what exactly you're going to give up, and who exactly you're going to allow to come into your life, to influence your life. You have to be very, very cautious on what you listen to, who you listen to, because most of the people that you're listening to only want you to succeed up to where they're at. Past where they're at, they start to get uncomfortable and they don't want you to grow past them. And so for most people, I try to surround myself with multimillionaires who have already received and already are at a different level to where I'm able to learn from them, and just by being in their circle, things change very, very quickly. Now, that leads me to my other point, which is mental blocks will keep you poor. Now, just as much as people around you will influence you, mental blocks are one of the biggest breakthroughs that I just understood in the last 2 or 3 months. And now I went from making less than $5,000 a month to making over $104,000 in a single month. And this is one of the most important things that stuck with me: mental roadblocks. Now, this is perfectly demonstrated with the 4-minute mile, where most people up to a certain year thought the 4-minute mile was impossible, where man could not reach. Those were the limits of mankind. They would never be able to reach running a mile in 4 minutes. Until one year where somebody was able to break that limit, that limiting belief, that mental block. And what happened after that? So once they actually broke that 4-minute mile, in the years passing by, there were multiple people that also broke that 4-minute mile. And so this whole idea of 4 minutes being impossible to mankind now just became shattered, and everyone around you was able to now see that it was possible and accomplish it themselves. And so it's the same thing with business, where a lot of people think $10,000 is this end-all goal. A lot of people think that $10,000 is going to be so far away and it's impossible for them specifically to hit that goal. But then once you hit that goal, you start to consistently hit that goal. Now you're just accustomed to bringing in that type of money, but most importantly, you have the conviction that it is possible. And so now that you have the conviction that it is possible, you'll start to just act in accordance to making $10,000 a month and having that confidence and having that conviction that what you're doing is the right thing. And as long as you continue to keep going and push the ball forward and go harder with business, you will consistently hit $10,000. It's the same thing with $50,000. It's the same thing with $100,000. In our business, we just hit $100,000 in a day. That was one of the craziest days because in our business, one of our sales reps, her roadblock was $27,000 in one day. That was the most she's ever made. And so in the beginning, when she started to get to that level. She couldn't really break through that $27,000 in a day until one day she hit $50,000. And then what happened that same week, the next week, following week, right after, she hit another $50,000. And then she hit a $60,000 day. And then she broke a $100,000 day. Those are peaks in the business, but now she's averaging around $25,000 to $30,000 in a day consistently. So what a couple months ago used to be her mental roadblock, her end-all goal, is now her standard. She's consistently hitting those numbers, and so being able to level up with those mental roadblocks and start to eliminate them as quick as possible is very important if you're looking to scale to the next level. That being said, how do you actually do that? Because it's easier said than done. One of the biggest ways that I've been able to learn this and to get past some mental roadblocks is by just hanging around rich people. Once you hang around rich people, you'll start to understand. They'll start to talk about numbers like if it was nothing. Throw around 50K a month, 60K, 100K, 200K, $500,000, $1 million a month. And they'll start to talk about expenses and they'll start to talk about these kinds of things. And so the more you're accustomed to that and the more you start to see, oh, this guy just made $10,000 in a day and didn't even flinch. That's possible. I didn't know that. Once you experience that kind of people and those kinds of relationships, that's when things start to click in your head that, oh, this is possible. I just have to restructure my mind and break those beliefs as quick as possible. That's one of the biggest things as well that has helped me in the last 12 months to reach, $100,000 a month. And so I plan on consistently hitting $100,000 a month in 2025, and hopefully we'll break $200,000, $300,000. And now the next lesson is one that will stick with you for the entirety of your life. And it is that pain and problems will never go away in your life. Now, I don't want to get you depressed and I don't want to sound like a downer, but it is very true. And the quicker that you can restructure your mind and reframe your mind to understand that, the easier those problems will be, and the more you'll start to look for bigger problems. So, in the beginning, you have the problems that you can't afford anything, your business isn't growing, you're not getting clients, you're not getting booked calls. As you start to grow, you solve those problems. Now, what are the next problems? Well, now your systems aren't in place to take that many calls. Maybe you don't have enough time to take that many sales calls, and now you're booking your calendar too much. And so along the way, you'll start to experience these problems. Like the problems that we're experiencing now is that we're booking too many calls, and our sales rep, she doesn't have enough time, so we have to hire a second sales rep. And so now I have to train that sales rep. And there's other things in the business as well. Our infrastructure could be a lot better and a lot stronger, and we're looking to improve the product every single time. And so as we're trying to scale, we're trying to improve this product. And then also we have payment processing issues that happen with every single business. And so those are the problems that I'm dealing with right now. I chose this, and it is a blessing to have these kinds of problems, because I'd rather have these problems every single day of the year than have the problem that I can't afford it or have the problem that I can't book a single call. And so choosing your problems is just a part of business, a part of success, a part of life. As you start to go and climb the ladders and level up, you'll start to see that the biggest people have the biggest problems, and you should be trying to have the biggest problems as well. Like if we look at one of the things, and I'll probably add that video in here. In this video, Trump talks about how he was over $1 billion in debt at one point. For a lot of people, that could give them heart attacks, that can keep them from sleeping every single night. But for him, it was just, that was the game that he was playing. And if he wanted to be at that level, he's going to have to play that game. So if you can just imagine, and this is something that I think about a lot when I'm dealing with my problems, think about the problems that he's facing. Think about the lawyers that he has to talk to, the land and the litigation that he's dealing with. Think about the monthly payment on $1 billion loan. To be $1 billion in debt, you probably owe a lot of money, and you're probably paying a lot. You're probably paying millions of dollars a month in mortgages, monthly fees, and it is just a headache to deal with. But that being said, you should always be striving to find better and bigger problems, because with those big problems come big rewards. So always remember that. Get rid of that one. Life viewed from close up is a tragedy. Life viewed from far away is a comedy. What that means, it's currently Christmas Eve, and as this year is coming to an end, I start to realize everything that happened to me that sucked in the past year all happened for a reason. And so, as the analogy goes, life viewed from close up is a tragedy, meaning there's things that happen on a day-to-day basis, there's problems that occur, there is, little wins and little losses that happen on a weekly basis. Those are all playing a key part in shaping the whole entire story. Because life viewed from afar is a comedy, which means what happens here then leads into what happens, down the line. And because this happened, 6 months ago, now I'm seeing the lesson that was learned there, and it's helping me, create a bigger business, and it's helping me at the end tie everything together and lead me to the point where I'm at right now. So understanding that principle is going to help you in the long term. Now, it also may mean, on a month-to-month basis, it may be a tragedy, and then on a yearly basis, it may be a comedy, in terms of there might be problems on a month basis, but on a yearly basis, it all ties it together. But then also we can look at it from a 5-year time frame. We can look at it from a 10-year time frame where there might be a year where you have the worst year of your life, but you just have to remember, long term, are we still on an ascend or are we descending? And most of the time, if we're consistently doing what we need to do, it's usually just climbing and usually just leveling up little by little. Some years might be, exponential. We might see success come after years of experiencing nothing, but that all plays a key part. And so that's why life viewed from close up is like a tragedy, and life viewed from afar is like a comedy. Next, and this is going to be probably by far the most important lesson that I leave with you today, which is the biggest cheat code in life, in business, in relationships, in health, is to hire a mentor. Now, you can spend years and years and years looking for the right answer and doing the wrong things, but what I live by is you don't know what you don't know. And so how are you going to find the solutions for the things that you don't know if you don't know they even exist? That's where mentors come into place. They've experienced it all, and maybe they learned from a mentor as well. But by paying them, they're presenting to you all the possibilities and all the solutions to those possibilities, because they themselves have dealt with that problem as well. Now, you can go the long route and you can go the solo route, but that is not going to lead to a faster success. It's going to take you a lot longer to learn the lessons that could have been easily paid for and that could have been easily learned in a month, in a year, instead of taking you 5 years. So if we're playing the game of business, being able to collapse time is a very important thing. And so hiring a mentor is one of the most important things that you need to do, whether you're starting out or whether you've already created a successful business. Just as an example, I've paid $50,000 for a mentor to learn just 2 simple things. A lot of people would expect to learn tons of things and have, their whole business revamped and their whole funnel and their whole infrastructure just changed completely. But in that $50,000 investment, I've learned 2 things that have taken my business from low 6 figures to over $500,000 a month consistently. That's what mentorship does, is that you're not necessarily paying to just learn everything, but you're usually just learning 1 or 2 things that you take and that you learn and you continue to grow. And as you continue to scale and level up, you find another mentor and you take those 1 or 2 things that are key and essential, and you take those and you start to develop. And you consistently do that over and over again until you're at a point where now people are coming to you and asking for that same advice. And so all those key points that you took, now you can package those up and share that to the people that are trying to get where you're at. So definitely, number 1, the most important thing in this video is going to be hire a mentor. Not a course, not an ebook, not a PDF, but hire a mentor. Somebody where as you're going throughout the process of whatever you're building, you can ask them, you can get on a call with them, group call, whatever it may be, send them a message and say, hey, I don't know what to do here, I'm stuck. The biggest problem with courses is that you'll deal with a lot of issues where you have questions and nobody's there to answer them. And so it's good for knowing the base knowledge, but that base knowledge comes with a lot of questions. And so that's where a mentor is going to be able to walk you through every single step. But yeah, definitely hire a mentor as soon as possible with whatever you're building. And one last thing, make sure your mentor is actually, doing what they're teaching, first of all, and then also in a place where you want to be. There's a lot of people that want to be mentors and a lot of people that want to, teach the younger generation, but most of these people haven't even figured it out themselves, and so they're trying to teach something that they don't even know how to do. It's the same thing as going to the gym and hiring a fat trainer. You're not going to want to do that because you should be looking for a trainer that has the body that you want to look like. I want to look like you, so I'm going to do exactly what you tell me to do because that's exactly what you're doing. Don't forget that when you're looking for a mentor. And lastly, I think this one is going back to the beginning stages of doubt and the beginning stages of consistency and just working, and that mental block is something I like to call the billboard effect. So think about you driving, right? Let's say this is our road here. We're going like this, right? We're driving along, looking at the nice scenery, whatever, and then we see a billboard here, and then we see a building here. And have you ever seen those buildings and those billboards, specifically in those nicer areas where you have some random company that's called, Dura Lashes? There's a building outside that's called Salazar, right? As you're driving by and as you start to see these random buildings and you're like, what even is this building? What is the name on this company? Like, what is that? Just remember that this Salazar or this Dura Lashes or whatever it may be, those are multi-million-dollar companies, and those are companies that are making lots and lots of money a month and a year. Each one of those buildings that you see that has a random name that you've never heard of before, next time you drive by, try to focus on that and see how many buildings you can see, which is names of random companies that you've never heard of before. Each one of those companies, there's at least one millionaire behind those companies. No matter how random that name may be, if it's a nice building and there's a name on that building and you don't know what that company does, just know that there's at least one millionaire that has come from that company. And now they own the whole entire building, and now their name is on the side of the building. That is something that helped me kind of go through my journey, is that saturation doesn't really exist. I don't really believe that you can saturate a market as much. Just look at how many tequila brands there are, or look at how many alcohol brands there are. Every single one probably heard the same exact thing. Hey, you're gonna build another vodka brand. Look how many vodka brands there are. But each vodka brand is a multi-million-dollar company, and there are millionaires that have come from each individual company. It's the same thing with these buildings, where if you start, I challenge you to do this right after this video if you're watching this. The next time you're driving, look at these buildings and just remember, each one of those buildings, there's at least a millionaire that has come from it, and that's just the name on the actual building. We're not even thinking about the building. We're not even thinking about who built the building, who owns the building. And so just remember, there are millionaires everywhere and there's money everywhere to be made. That is a very important key thing that kept me going when times were getting tough and there was doubt. Just remembering that there's millionaires all around me and there's opportunity all around me, and there are tons of people who have built things that I've never even heard of that are making millions of dollars. So why not me?
So these are going to be the essential principles that took me from making less than $5,000 to now where I'm at today. So definitely rewatch this video as many times as you need, and hopefully this helps you in your journey to getting to where you're at with your business and with your success. Until next video, I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to like and subscribe.